The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Automatic Fantasy. You win up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up with the promo code SGPN to claim your special pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Automatic Fantasy, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best dad-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com. Rhythm, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently late Friday night on June 21st, roughly 11 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm your host, Scott Reichel, once again going solo for this pod. Should be a fun but a short episode because there are only 4 matches to preview. It is semifinal time in Halle and in London, so we're going to preview all 4 matches on the card. Before into that, though, do want to recap what happened in the last episode and what happened in the quarterfinal matches. Starting off with the lock and dog picks. Overall, decent episode. Ended up winning the lock, and we lost the dog. For the lock, we had the over, 22.5 games in the Sinner and Struff match at minus 128. That got there. Wasn't easy, as we ended up seeing Sinner win the first set 6-2. So we needed Struff to actually win a set, and he did. Ended up winning a set via breaker, and then he lost the final set via breaker. Sinner really should have won comfortably in straight sets, but he just could not convert any breakpoint chances. He converted 0 breakpoints in the final 2 sets. He was 2 for 18. So Struff was solid in, I'd say, difficult moments, and he was able to prolong the match to cash us the lock. Ended up losing anyway, but ended up helping us get the winner there. For the dog, wasn't even close. Took a player prop, went with Harris over 1.5 breaks at even money against Musetti, and he did not break a single time. So not even close there. Harris was really never threatening any of the Musetti service games, and Musetti just looked extremely solid. Simply put, we know Harris was the wild card long shot who was a surprise to some to actually make it that far. Of course, we had him to win the quarter at plus 2,000, which also went up in flames. Point is, though, Harris did not get there, so ended up splitting the lock and dog picks. As for the other matches that are worth recapping, going through Halle first, we called the exact score of the Hurkacz and Giron match. We said 7-6, 6-4, and we liked Giron to cover, and he did. He covered the 3.5 because he lost exactly 7-6, 6-4. So nice job by Hurkacz. Giron hung in there, did enough to cover, but wasn't really going to threaten Hurkacz, whose serve was just too good and too much for Giron to handle. Zverev, we thought, would win in straight sets against Fees for the value at around even money. That did not get there, as Zverev did win the match, but did lose the first set via breaker. Struff ended up beating he did not actually. Did he beat the spread? I'm trying to remember if it was 3.5 or 4.5. Point is, though, Struff ended up going over the 2.5 sets against Sinner. We like that play as well, like the over in the games, and that worked out too. So ended up getting the read right in that one. And for the last match, we liked Zhang to beat Eubanks, and we liked the over and the over 2.5 sets. Got everything right in that one, as Zhang did win the final set 7-5. Massive choke job by Eubanks. He was serving it out for the match, and he got broken. So you figure, okay, probably headed to a breaker. Not ideal, but maybe Eubanks can bounce back. But he was serving at 5-3. So you're thinking, okay, maybe he'll be able to close it out. Did not do so, got broken to love. Then Zhang holds, and you're like, okay, so we're probably going to go to a breaker. And then Eubanks said, nope, I'm going to get broken again. So he got broken in back-to-back service games, and then went from up 5-3 to losing 5-7. So losing the final 4 games of the set is a pretty rough way to go out, and that's what happened. Actually, it was 5-2. I take it back. So he actually lost the last 5 games of the set, which is pretty rough. Either way, though, Zhang got the job done, and the overs in every capacity cashed in that one. So we got that match completely right. For the London matches, we really did not do that well in that group of matches because we thought that Fritz would beat Thompson. Didn't happen, as Thompson won in straight sets. Did like the under in games, though. Mentioned that. That got there, with the underdog winning, which is kind of a rare type of winner, but the under did get there at plus money in theory. Musetti ended up beating Harris in straight sets. That we did not have. We thought Draper was going to beat Paul. That didn't happen either, as Paul won in 3. Nice win by Paul, who was able to outlast Draper. Thought Draper might end up taking it after winning the second set 7-5, but Paul was a bit too solid. Ended up getting a break courtesy of a double fault by Draper, and he held on and did just enough to win 6-4 in the final set. And then we had Korda against Hijikata. I thought Korda would win comfortably. He ended up making the match competitive because Hijikata ended up winning the first set. But we did like Hijikata plus the games at 4.5, and that got there as he lost by 4. So overall, a decent day on the card. Once again, split the lock and dog picks, and we kind of split all the matches. So not the most amazing day, not the most horrible day. Point is, though, a decent episode as a whole. Before we get into any of the actual preview of the quarterfinal matches, though, semifinal matches, I mean, do want to remind you once again to like, subscribe on YouTube. Also, to remind everyone to rate and review the podcast on Spotify or Apple. So no matter how you consume the podcast, you can show support or even hatred in theory. Just leave feedback. So don't forget to, once again, let your voice be known and to let me know what you think of the show as it is, if you want it to be changed. Saw some feedback earlier on an episode ago, I think, telling me that I spent a bit too much time recapping the previous day's matches. So if you have an issue with that, let me know. Once again, it could be anything, and I'll definitely address it and try to make adjustments moving forward. Also, a reminder, don't forget to check out the merch store to support the show, because we do have Tennis Gambling Podcast merch. We have shirts, sweatshirts, and mugs. So a lot of different high-quality merchandise to express your support that you can get. I have shirts. I have pretty much everything for the show, and I could definitely recommend the shirts. Different colors, overall very comfortable, and I wear it a lot. So I'll probably wear it on the next episode. So point is, stay tuned for that if you do want to see the shirt. But either way, point is, don't forget to check out the merch store to get your Tennis Gambling Podcast merchandise. Also, a reminder that we do have other shows with the network that also have merch on the SGPN merch store. And for the upcoming week, the featured show is going to be the college football experience, because the countdown to football season is on. And SGPN has you covered. The college football experience is doing individual team previews for every college football team. I believe they were doing, I think it was the Mountain West today. So they're probably going to continue doing that tomorrow. Plus, SGPN's 5-Minute Fantasy Football is your quick podcast getting you prepped for all things fantasy. So once again, don't forget to check out those two podcasts for your football needs. Once again, it might be the off season based on games, but you can still do some prep and get yourself some win totals, or maybe even your fantasy football draft is around the corner and you want to get some research done. Anyway, time to get into the actual semifinal matches for the upcoming card. So starting off with the actual schedule, a reminder that these matches are not going to start at the same time. So we're going to go with Halle first, because Halle does start at 7 a.m. and London starts at 8 a.m. So keep that in mind. Starting off with Halle, though, the first match is going to be probably the match of the day. You have a match between Hurkacz and Zverev. Also a reminder, by the way, for the quarters in Halle, ended up getting 3 of the 4 quarters right. And we also have all 3 outrights still alive. We have Zverev, we have Hurkacz, and we have Sinner. So as long as Zhang doesn't go on a dream run, we automatically win. And we automatically do have a finalist with this match. So Zverev is minus 165. Hurkacz is a plus 145. Zverev minus 1 game is minus 114. Hurkacz plus 1 is minus 106. And you're looking at the set spread here. Hurkacz minus 1.5 is plus 350. You have Zverev minus 1.5 at plus 190. Over 2.5 sets is around plus 120. And once again, you are expecting a very long match. Now, Zverev has done very well in the head-to-head. In fact, is undefeated against Hurkacz in their careers. He is 3-0. Now, to go through the actual recent matches, they had one match this year, which was the United Cup, and Zverev did win that one in 3 sets as he led Team Germany to a title. But you're looking at the first 2 sets, they were alternating tie breaks, and then Zverev did win the final set 6-4. So he did win the meeting this year, competitive. The over got there. Pretty self-explanatory. Faced off in the ATP Finals in 2021. Zverev won 6-2, 6-4. Faced off on clay in 2019, and Zverev did win in 3. So you can kind of toss out the ATP Finals and the Madrid match because those were from at least 3 years ago. However, I do think the United Cup, even though that wasn't hard court, does suggest the type of script we are expecting for this match. Zverev has been serving well. Now, he's been dropping sets, which has been a bit concerning. But I do think that his serve is good enough to stifle I'd say Hurkacz's inconsistent return game. I think we all know that the biggest flaw in Hurkacz's game right now is either rally tolerance or returning. So I think that Zverev's serve, especially his first serve percentage, which has been very good so far this season, can give Hurkacz problems. So I don't exactly expect many breaks on Hurkacz's behalf in this one. And Hurkacz, we know, is a top 2 server in the world, and I think that his serve will be fine in this match as well, even though Zverev is a very tall player who can get a racket onto a lot of serves. But Hurkacz has been serving well. We know he's a grass expert with his serve, and I do think you're ending up seeing a lot of games. I like the over in this one. The problem is 26 is basically unbettable. If you find 25.5, I don't mind that. If you want to go for the over Even if you want to go for the over 2.5 sets at like plus 120, I don't hate that. Maybe if you want to go for a team total, if you want to go for a Zverev 13.5 or maybe a Hurkacz 13. Point is, it's kind of tough to actually find a lot of value when the total's already at around 26. So you're expecting 2 tie breaks in general. I see that. Maybe if you want to go for over 1.5 breakers in the entire match, I think that's like plus 250. I don't mind that, but I don't see many breaks. I see a lot of very quick holds and a lot of tense moments in potential tie breaks. But give me Zverev probably winning in, if I had to guess, 3. But I think the team total over is worth consideration. And I do think that until Hurkacz actually beats this guy, I'm not going to pick him to beat this guy. Zverev has the home country advantage since he's German. He made the final last year. And once again, Hurkacz has really not beaten the best competition so far in the event. He beat Kaboli, who's not a great grass player by any means, beat Duckworth, who is also a pretty mediocre grass player, and Giron is in great form. I don't know how good of a grass player Giron is in the grand scheme of things. As for Zverev, he also hasn't played many great players either. Played Atta, dropped the set. Atta, though, local guy from Germany as well, and he went through qualifying. Sonego has got talent. We know he's been a mess this season, so I don't know if that means anything either. And Fees was good in the first couple rounds, but he's also had a pretty down year. So tough to fully evaluate the strength of competition for both guys in this event, but I think that eventually Zverev's consistency and his ability to win long rallies is going to help him out. If Hurkacz is unable to land a high percentage of his first serves, I think Zverev has an advantage in almost all the long rallies, which should help him as basically the deciding factor to get the job done. So give me Zverev, who's 3-0 in the head-to-head to get the job done. I don't mind the -1 games at -114. I think he'll win, but I think it's going to be competitive. Moving on to the next match on the card. We're going to be looking at the matchup between Zhang and Sinner. Now, Sinner's -1100. Zhang is +725. For the game spread, you have Sinner a -4.5, a -119. You have Zhang +4.5, a -101. The over-under set at 21. Shop around, though. You can probably find other totals. Set spread here, Sinner -1.5 is -240. Zhang +1.5 is +190. Over 2.5 sets is +250. Now, Sinner has been dropping sets. In fact, he's dropped the set in every single round. I dropped the set to Struff on Friday. I dropped the set to Morozin in the second round and dropped a set against Griekspoor in the first round. There is one similarity with all 3 matches. All 3 lost sets were tie breaks. So Sinner eventually won a breaker in the final set against Struff, where he opened up a massive lead and won 7-3. Hopefully that's a sign that Sinner has been, I don't want to say well adjusted to tie breaks on grass, but at least he's going to be more comfortable in that environment. And I simply put, think these odds are actually kind of fair. I think Zhang's going to get his ass kicked in this matchup. I know that he did a good job against Eubanks, not rolling over, winning 5 straight games to close the match out. But he has been involved in a lot of marathons as well. Ended up going to 3 sets against Eubanks, 3 sets against Medvedev. Good win there. He was down 4-1 in the breaker there. And he ended up going to a 3rd set against Offner. Massive step up in competition for Zhang. It's a step down in competition for Sinner, because Sinner just faced off against Struff, who was the home country guy, who was in great form, and we know how good of a serve Struff actually has. Sinner once again generated 18 breakpoint chances against Struff. He only converted 2 of them, but I do acknowledge that he was returning serve very well, and Struff had one of the best serves in this entire tournament. Zhang's serve can be fine, but for the most part, it's not great, as Eubanks did break him multiple times, and Eubanks is not a great returner by any means. I think Zhang is lucky to be here with Eubanks choking the way that he did. I think Sinner buries him. The issue is trying to find value, because straight sets is -240. I like the team total for Sinner. I think the under 12.5 at +105 is appealing. I don't mind, though, the Zhang team total under 8.5 at -115. I think Zhang is going to be in line to, once again, be on the receiving end of an ass kicking. And I think that Sinner is going to win this match comfortably. I know it goes against Sinner's overall tournament so far, but I think beating Struff with the crowd against him and facing off against an elite serve and doing well, 18 breakpoint chances is still very impressive, no matter how you slice it. Now, he did a terrible job converting. I'm aware of that. But Sinner also has served very well in this event, because Sinner has not gotten broken in 2 of the 3 matches. So if Sinner's going to hold basically every time, and Zhang's going to be facing a bunch of breakpoint chances, I think Sinner can constantly pressure Zhang's service games and eventually find a way through in each set. So give me some type of 6-4, 6-3 type final, maybe even a bigger score line than that, or more lopsided one. I do like the team total under, though, for Zhang, trying to find value at around minus 115 on the 8.5. Also works because if you end up getting a 7-6 in theory, we did see Sinner beat Struff 6-2 in a set. So a blowout set is definitely in the realm of possibility, which I think is I'd say a possible outcome here. So give me a Zhang team total under as my main lean. I also don't mind Sinner under 12.5 games in the team total at plus 105 as a potential light dog there, plus money price. The under 20 games is plus 130. That's kind of threading the needle. That I don't know if I actually like, but plus 130 is interesting, and I think it's actually worth mentioning. Either way, though, I'm not going to continue going through that match. Now it's time to get into the semifinals in London, but before we get into that, do want to remind you once again, we are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy because their Pick 8 is live. Create entries up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex your entries, so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. With more picks to make and more ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. Best part, you go into 325 times your original entry. You can now use specials and boosts on all flex entries. I'll probably use one of the Pick 8 I'd say options. I'll do Tarazi in the WNBA. I'll take her lower on assists. Should be 4.5. I do like the lower in that one, as she's gone lower in 16 of her last 18 games. Don't miss out on your chance to try it out before it is gone. Sign up the promo code SGPN to claim your special pick and your first deposit offer up to $50 in bonus cash on Underdog Fantasy, promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast. Just finished previewing the semifinal matches in Halle. Now it's time for the Saturday matches in London. Starting off with the first match on the card, you have Musetti taking on Thompson, a matchup nobody thought was going to happen in the semis, but good for both guys. Thompson is a slight favorite, about minus 120 or minus 127. You have Musetti at around plus 105, give or take. For the over-under, you have 22.5 games. For the spread, you have minus a half for Thompson, plus a half for Musetti. For the set spread, you have minus 1.5 sets for Musetti at plus 240, minus 1.5 sets for Thompson at plus 200. The over 2.5 sets is plus 130. Now, we saw Thompson beat some really good competition so far in the event, as he beat Rune in the first round, and he buried Fritz in straight sets in the quarters after Fritz beat Raonic. So a very good win there, winning 6-4, 6-3 against a fringe top 10 player in the world. Musetti's been good. He beat de Minaur in the first round in 3. De Minaur was off a title, though, so fatigue could have been an issue. Ended up beating Nagashima in 3 sets and beat wildcard Harris in the quarters. So yes, Thompson has beaten the much better competition so far in the event. So you can argue that Thompson's a worthy favorite, even though Musetti has looked sharp so far in the event. For head-to-head, Musetti's up 1-0. They faced off last year on hard court, or this year, in Adelaide, and Thompson got buried. Musetti won 6-4, 6-1. So for this matchup, I think I agree with the actual line. I am going to link to Thompson, who does have a title this year already on hard court, but it was his first ever title, and he's been good in general at actually showcasing his stamina. We saw the run in Mexico where he was playing 3-set marathons every round, and he survived and beat some quality opposition. I think Thompson will be able to outlast Musetti on grass. Musetti's played a lot of tennis. I know he ended up winning in straight sets against Harris. Did go to 3 sets against de Minaur and against Nakashima. But I think Musetti is still not the best server. I know he was solid serving against Harris, but Thompson's serve and volley game can be tricky. He's a very solid grass player, and I do think that beating Fritz is a testament to how good he is on the surface. So for me, I'm going to link to Thompson. Yes, Musetti's made a great run, and I'm happy for him. But the competition has been a lot easier than Thompson's run. And I think that Thompson getting through Rune and Fritz tells me he's on a slightly higher level than Musetti. So I am going to go with Thompson to get the job done. I don't mind the over, though. I think a marathon could be expected. I think the over 2.5 sets of plus 130 is appealing. But give me a marathon, and I will lean to Thompson to eventually get the job done, as I think he will reach another ATP final in 2024. Moving on to the last match on the card, you have the matchup between 2 Americans, which is probably the second best match of the day. You have a matchup between Korda and Paul. Now, Paul, fresh off the win against Draper in 3 sets on Friday, is minus 127, and Korda's around plus 107. You're looking at the over-under, though. You have 23 or 22.5 if you shop around. For the set spread, you have Korda minus 1.5 sets at plus 250. Paul minus 1.5 sets at plus 190. The over 2.5 sets is plus 120. Now, for this one, I think I am going to link to Korda. I know Paul's been in good form, and he did beat Draper, who beat Alcaraz, so everyone's going to be high on Paul for this matchup. It is worth mentioning Korda has owned Paul in their careers. 5 head-to-head meetings, Korda's 4-1. Faced off last week on grass, and Korda beat the hell out of him. Korda won that one in straight sets. In fact, he only dropped 6 games in the entire match. That was on the 14th. So the point is, I think Korda is mispriced here. Yes, I know he went to 3 sets against Dimitrov and Hijikata. I get it. The point is, though, I think people are kind of overrating Paul right now after beating Draper. I get it. It's a very good win. Draper was in good form. It does feel like a good zag opportunity to take a plus money guy who's 4-1 in the head-to-head, who just beat this guy on this exact same surface about a week ago. And the price is off. I think Paul should arguably be either a smaller favorite or minus 110 apiece. But minus 127, I think is a bit too high for me. I think it should be lower. Give me Korda for the value. And I do like the head-to-head advantage, which is very lopsided in favor of Korda. I like the over, though. I see a marathon, and I think you're going to end up seeing 3 sets. But until Paul can actually consistently beat Korda, I'm going to take the plus money. I think there's good value on it. Give me Korda in this one as my play. Either way, though, that's going to wrap it up for the 4 matches on Saturday. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. Before we continue that, do want to remind you once again, we are brought to you by Rhythm, because if you're betting on player props, you need to get Rhythm, because Rhythm is the go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter, data-driven decisions. Unlike other platforms, Rhythm combines advanced predictive analytics with an intuitive user experience, making betting both easier and more enjoyable. The predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data that help drive you to making better AI-backed betting decisions. Plus, also never too early to start your NFL projections. So keep that in mind. They also have options for football. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportscamppockets.com. So sportscamppockets.com/RATHMM. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast. Just finished going through the 4 matches on Saturday. Now it's time for the lock and dog plays. For the lock, I am going to go back to Halle, and I am going to go to that Sinner and Zhang match. Give me Zhang team total under 8.5 at minus 115. I know it's dangerous taking team total unders on grass, but I really think Sinner is going to bury him, and I do think this is a pretty high number for a guy that could easily lose in straight sets pretty decisively. To go through the actual breakdown, Sinner, simply put, still a top 2 player in the world right now. Probably 2 behind Alcaraz, but he's still a solid grass player. He's been really good at serving the event, and Zhang, we know, is a solid player, but he's also on a Cinderella run. And we do know that Sinner has a serious talent advantage in this matchup, which helps. Sinner's not gotten broken in 2 of the 3 matches. So even with the breakers that Sinner has lost, he served well. And I think that could be an area Zhang's going to struggle with. If Zhang's not going to be able to break Sinner more than once in this match, I expect him to get broken, in my opinion, at least 3 times in this matchup. So I do think that Sinner should be up a break in both sets at some point, which bodes well for the team total under. And a reminder, Sinner returned well against Struff on Friday. 18 breakpoint chances. He only converted 2. So that's why the scoreline might kind of scare people off from backing Sinner to win comfortably. But if you get 18 breakpoints against Struff on grass, clearly you're doing something right. So I think that he'll be able to generate enough chances to break Zhang on multiple occasions. Zhang, once again, was down 5-2 to Eubanks in the 3rd set of the last round. Lucky to be here. I think he gets destroyed. Give me Zhang team total under 8.5 as my lock at minus 115. For my dog, I think I am going to go to the last match. I thought about the Thompson and Musetti over 2.5 sets, but Thompson might win comfortably in that one, so I'm going to stay away from it. Instead, I'm going to go to the matchup in London between the Americans. Give me Korda on the money line at plus 109. Yes, I know a lot of people will be on Tommy Paul because he's been good in the event. Beat Tabilo in straight sets. He beat Draper in 3. I get it. I know Korda also had a hard time against Hijikata. I get it. The point is, when you're 4-1 head-to-head lifetime against the opponent, and you just beat the same guy on grass, the same surface, about 8 days ago in straight sets, only dropping 6 games in the process, plus 109 is the wrong price. So it's going to be a value play for me. Until Paul shows any signs of life against Korda, at least based on the recent meetings, I think Korda's got value. I think plus 109 is a good price. I think it might go 3 sets. You can maybe live bet Paul in play if you want to get a hedge opportunity. But I think that Korda being 4-1 in the head-to-head and beating him 8 days ago and still being plus money seems extremely, I'll say, odd to me. And I think this line is off. So because of that, I'll let people overrate Paul. I'll let them drag his line up, and I'll go contrarian. Give me Korda to get the job done at plus 109. So once again, my picks for the semifinals. The lock's going to be on Zhang. Team total under 8.5 games minus 115. My dog's going to be on Korda money line at plus 109. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. A reminder back once again for the final in Halle and in London. So check in for that. Until next time, find me on Twitter at Reichel Radio. Find me on the NBA show. Find me on the WNBA show. Find me on the MLB show as well. Until next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.